Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe, and today I'm going to be doing a review, or 5 mini reviews that is, of a bunch of small box games that I have. And we're going to go through them one at a time. I'm just going to cover briefly how they play, what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and whether they're currently in my collection, staying in my collection, basically, well, what I think about them. That's a review after all. And to start with, we're going to have Illusion. Illusion is a very quick to play, very easy to play game in which you're going to take a bunch of cards, you're going to line them up on the table, and perhaps, I don't know if you can see how well you can see over there, but let's just use these as an example. Which one of these cards do you think has the most red on it? Okay, can you order the cards in terms of which one has the most red on it? Do you think it's this card over here? What about blue? What about yellow? So for instance, let's pick, yellow offhand. So if we're picking yellow from these cards, I think we can all agree that this one has the most yellow. That seems to have the most yellow in it. But what about these? Which one has the most yellow from there? Well, I mean, this one has the least yellow, I think, so let's put that over there. But what about these two? In Illusion, what you are doing, what other players are doing, is you are setting up an order of which card has the most color in it, and then other players can challenge you, try to rearrange, or try to basically perfect the order themselves. It is basically an interesting game in which you look at cards, you look at these little cards, try to figure out which pattern, which color, and they're going to have different cards over here, somewhere in this deck, on the other side over here, that tell you which color you're playing with. So in every single game, you're going to know whether you're playing with blue that round, or orange, or yellow, if there is no orange. And then at the end of the game, when you're at the end of the round, you will look at the back where it will tell you the percentages, so you can see which card had the most. It's basically a light, fun party game. You can teach it in a few minutes, go through the cards, trying to figure out which one has the most, just go round and round until everyone's done with it. And that is basically Illusion. Illusion is a game that I enjoyed it, I kept it for a bit, and I think it's fun to play, it's fun to teach, it's an interesting concept, it's fun to say, well, I think I can more visually detect which color is most prevalent, or more specifically, the order of the prevalence of the colors. It's fun to go through it and to try to figure out that puzzle. And that will last you a few plays, maybe a few more, depends on who you're playing with, depends on who the target audience is, but at the end of the day, I find this a fun game to pull out and play, yet one that doesn't really hold my interest over time. It is a fun puzzle, to be very clear, but it's one that it has a limited shelf life in terms of how fun that puzzle will be over time. At a certain point, there's only so many configurations of colors that you can do, and only so many different ways that the game plays out. It is a light, fun party game that is worth trying, certainly worth giving a shot, but one that is not staying in my collection. Next up from there, we have Qwinto. Qwinto is one of many roll and writes that I have in my collection, and I've gotten rid of a bunch of them over time because they're constantly fighting for a top spot in my collection. But what Qwinto does well is Qwinto is very easy to teach, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to be rolling dice every round, and you can pick which dice to roll. So maybe this round I only want to pick the purple and the yellow. I'll then add up the numbers and figure out where I want to put that 8. Do I want to put it on the yellow row in the 8 or the purple row in the 8? And on this chart, what you're going to do is you're going to have to put the numbers in ascending order. So once you put a 5 down over here, then any further number, any 6, 7, 8 has to go to the right of that number. And then there's going to be a scoring mechanism where for every filled column, you're going to score the hexagon shape, as well as a few other scoring determinations in terms of if you finish the row, you'll score more points. If you finish the row, you'll score for the highest number in the row, as opposed to if you don't finish the row, you'll score for however many you get in the row. And you'll go back and forth doing that. Your opponent can fill numbers on their turn as well, which ensures that they are invested throughout the game, not just in their own turn. And they're going to go through until you run out of spots to place numbers, and then call it a day. Qwinto is light. It is probably my least favorite roll and write that I still own. To be clear, I've gotten rid of many other roll and writes that, well, that I got bored of eventually. I still own Qwinto. I'm not getting rid of it just yet. It is the least nuanced or interesting from many other roll and writes. Take The Game, take Railroad Ink, take Ganshon Clever. I don't know why I said the game is over here, the game's here. I meant the Ganshon Clever, or any others. I'd have to go through my shelf over there, but I enjoy the roll and writes, Welcome to Las Vegas. I enjoy roll and writes as a mechanism, and what I like about Qwinto, and the reason it's still here, is it is one of the fastest roll and writes I have to actually teach. It's a great introduction to roll and writes. It's a little bit more than Quicks. Quicks, I believe, was one that I found to be a little lacking in terms of just how much depth it had. Qwinto has enough depth to keep it interesting, and yet is light enough that I can teach it, and it's a great intro to roll and writes. For now, Qwinto is still in my collection. It is possible that over time it will be replaced. I do enjoy it, I do recommend it, and, well, give it a shot. From there we have The Game. The Game is an interesting one, and The Game is basically a cooperative game. It is actually 2 of these games are cooperative. 2 of these 5 games are cooperative, and The Game is one of those. And in The Game, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be setting up piles on the table, and you'll have a bunch of cards, and you're going to have 4 piles, numbers 0 through 100 and numbers 1 through 100 and 99 through 1. And you have to go in ascending or descending order in the piles. And what you're going to do is you're going to have your hand of cards. You're playing it cooperatively, so your teammate has another hand of cards. You could play with 1 to 4 players. I think you play 1 player. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pick a card, and you're going to say, well, I think I'm going to play a 4 and a 5 this round. And then your teammate goes, and they try to play cards. And what they're trying to do is they pick one of those 4 piles, those 4 rows or columns, and try to play their own cards. Maybe my hand goes over here, and I'm going to play, well, you know what? I think I'm going to continue from your 5 playing an 11. And the problem there is that's great, except now you just skipped my 9. You skipped my 9 over here, which now I have to play in another row. Now I could still play it in the row above, or maybe in the ascending row as it gets towards the bottom. What you're doing in the game is you're trying to figure out the right time and place to play your cards. Now there are a few tricks to be able to go further up or down the row, in which if you play a number 10 higher, you can go backwards or forward depending on which row you're in. But in the game, you're playing cards 1 or 2 at a time, or I think 2 at a time, to these card rows, and trying to figure out whether you'll make it toward the end or not, because officially winning in the game involves getting rid of all 100 cards, or 99 cards, or something like that. It involves getting rid of all the cards in the game in order to win the game. What I like about the game is it's very easy to teach, and it very much does have a collaborative nature. What I don't like about the game is it very rarely, not never, it very rarely feels like you're playing the game so much as the game is playing you. Too often, you're just playing the cards you're dealt. There are some decisions to be made, to be clear, and there are some risks you'll want to take in terms of jumping back or forward up those piles. But what I like about the game the most is it really just feels like a great exercise in collaboration, even though the decisions are few and far between. I very much enjoy the game. I do wonder about its longevity in my collection. I do wonder if this is a game I'll still have a year from now, but it's a game I've played something like 10, 15 times by now, which is a lot more than many other games get from my attention, even on the lighter or shorter side of gaming. The game is a game that baffles me, to be frank. The lack of decisions in it, or the lack of enough meaningful decisions, makes it one that typically I would not have in my collection. And yet I do, and I enjoy it, and I highly recommend it, and I keep pulling it out week after week, or I don't know if it's week after week, but I keep pulling it out on a frequent basis to pull it out, to play to bring it to the table, because it is enjoyable, despite all the reasons why I can't tell you why it's that enjoyable. It's just collaborative. It's collaborative in nature. I enjoy that. Silver and Gold is the second of 2 roll-and-writes on this list. We have 2 roll-and-writes and 2 cooperative games, and we have a bunch of interesting games. We have 2 games where you can't talk, lots of 2s over here. And one thing in common they actually all have is these are all Pandasaurus games. Mine are not actually all from Pandasaurus. My Silver and Gold and my Qwinto are from previous publishers, but I believe Pandasaurus currently produces all 5 of these games, Pandasaurus games. They just had the Dinosaur Island Kickstarter that I covered. So, in Silver and Gold is, and I did this, I think I said at the beginning, I'm doing these in order of my least to most favorite, which means the mind is my most favorite. In Silver and Gold, what you're going to have is you're going to basically have a few of these cards over here, which you're going to be trying to fill in. These are cards that have polyomino shapes in them, and you'll have a few of them in front of you, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to, every round, you're going to have a few of these cards, well, 2 specifically at a time, so let's say these are my 2, those are their 2, and you're going to be drawing these polyomino shapes. So you're going to have the shuffle deck over here, and you're going to draw a polyomino shape, and reveal it, and that means now I have to fill in my board those 2 squares. So I'm going to fill them on the board, do a little squiggle squiggle, then we'll draw the next one, and this is one of those 3 ones. And I'm going to fill that in my board. I'm going to do my other board over here. I'm not actually filling them in. Then we can do another one. We got that shape. And you're going to go through 7 of these 8 cards. So all the players know the shapes, but you're only going to get to 7. So there's not perfect information because you can never perfectly predict. Along the way, every time you fill out an X on one of your boards, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to fill out any spot on either of your boards, any one spot. Every time you fill out coins or trees, those are going to be additional point scoring mechanisms for Silver and Gold. And at the end of the game, you will get points both for the fact that you'll see these points up here, you'll get points for that. There are bonus cards that will give you points for, let's say, having more orange cards, more purple cards, or whatnot. Silver and Gold is absolutely excellent. It is kind of simple, honestly. I would say Silver and Gold is probably the most likely reason why I might get rid of Qwinto one day, because Silver and Gold lacks the depth that some roll-and-writes have. It lacks the depth of Ganshun Clever or even Railroad Inc. or Welcome to or any of those, but it is it is the easiest to teach from my roll and writes. It is fun because you're drawing in those little Tetris-y shapes. It's a polyomino game. If you watch my channel, you know I love polyomino games. It is accessible, easy, plays in 15, 20 minutes. It is basically, the only reason, I keep Qwinto because Qwinto is even shorter than Silver and Gold, and they are different. I don't always need to get rid of every single game that isn't, the pinnacle of perfection. But Silver and Gold is the lightest, or I would say it's in the lightness range as Qwinto, and yet it's more appealing. It is more fun to play. It is more fun to teach. I have this marker that I left out of the box. I very much enjoy Qwinto, Silver and Gold. I enjoy Qwinto too. I very much enjoy Silver and Gold, and I don't see myself getting rid of it anytime soon. Like I said about Qwinto, Qwinto is a game where the strength of it is its simplicity, and yet there's something about it that just feels slightly less rewarding. I feel like I'd rather just be playing Ganshun Clever or something like that, versus Silver and Gold. Silver and Gold just feels like I'd rather play Silver and Gold. It is light, to be clear, it has its right time and place, but I really recommend Silver and Gold. It is my second favorite from these 5 small box games. Which brings me to the Mind. The Mind, which I will shove these a little bit off to the side, the Mind is my favorite by far. Now, the Mind is a polarizing experience, to be sure. And what I mean by that is, for every person that tells you they love it, there's going to be someone else that tells you it's not even a game. The game is definitely a game, by the way. But the Mind, in the Mind, what you do is you have a few lives, and I'm going to ignore the lives and the shurikens in this, but let's pretend we have these levels we're trying to get through over here, and you're going to shuffle up the cards, and let's do this you and I together, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to shuffle up these cards, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you one card. I'm going to hand myself one card. We'll just play it right now. So I have this cards, which you have over here, and I have over there. Now I'm just going to wait to see when you play your card. Because this is what's happening in the Mind. In the Mind, we can't communicate. You and I cannot communicate. So I guess the question is, would you have played your card yet? Because the one rule in the Mind is that you have to play your cards in ascending order. And so I am going to play a card here, and 17. What's your card? 23. Good. Okay, good. Now you play your card. Excellent. Perfect. Good. We did that right. We beat level 1. Let's shuffle these back in, and let's go to level 2 of the Mind. Okay, level 2 of the Mind is going to be the same thing. Shuffle, shuffle. Except now we each have 2 cards. And you can play this between 2 and 4 players. I have enjoyed it at all player counts, honestly. So now you have your 2 cards over here. You got your 2 cards. I have my 2 cards. And I'm just going to wait. And let's see if you play this card here. 16. Good. Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm just going to wait. Still waiting. And I guess I'm going to 37. Okay, perfect. Good. And 42. Perfect. And 77. Great job. By the way, I can see the screen that I'm recording this on, which is how I can do that. But in any case, in the Mind, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get in each other's heads. You're trying to sync up. Congratulations. That's easy when you have a big gap. But what if you have the 42 and I have the 37? Do we know, are we on the same wavelength that we can figure out exactly when to play the game, when to play the cards, when to win? Because I guess to a certain point that in round 8 in a 4-player game, there are 32 cards out of these 100 cards. There's one of each number, by the way. There are 32 cards out of these 100 cards in circulation. And you have to play every single one of those in sequential order with no communication. The only real communication in the Mind is the fact that I'm holding my card and not playing it. And then maybe I just get a little bit antsy because now your card just came a little close, and maybe I want to wish. This is a few handful of rules in terms of hands on the table, raising your hand to throw out a shuriken, which is something that will help you. There are a few things you can do in the Mind to make your life easier, but ultimately, in order to win this game, and winning this game is hard, in order to win this game, you basically have to be on the same wavelength. You have to feel each other's pauses. You have to play it together as a group and slowly get better at understanding that, when I'm playing it with this group, a reasonable pause is 7 seconds. When I'm playing with that group, a reasonable pause is 15 seconds. Everyone will have their own cadences, their own nuances to how they play the Mind. This is a game I have played well over 40 times, and I've won it twice. I think it was twice. It might have been 3 times. But I've won it infrequently, to be sure. And I love this game. What I do with this game is I tend to pull it out, and then eventually I win, and then I don't touch it for another 3-4 months because the challenge is gone. It's all about achieving that mental cohesiveness as you play the Mind. The Mind is a game that I thoroughly recommend. I think this is incredible. It is not a game, to be clear. I agree with every single person that says it's not a game. but it is an experience, and it's an experience that I do recommend. And that is basically my review of these 5 games. And by the way, I have no plans of getting rid of this one anytime soon. I would say Silver and Gold and The Mind are very safe in my collection. They are thoroughly enjoyable for the right circumstances. The game, I find myself consistently pulling it out. And yet every time I play it, even for my first playthrough, I wonder how long it actually has, but I keep pulling it out and keep playing it. Qwinto I have for right now. I enjoy it. I do recommend it. And Illusion is the one that I would, I guess, least recommend. I think it's good. I think it's a fun game. I think it's worth trying. A little bit of a party trick, so to speak. But I think it does get boring pretty quickly because there's only so many times you can do the same thing before it, well, gets a little old. I hope you enjoyed this review of these 5 little small box games review. I have a whole bunch more small box games like this. I'll probably do another one of these videos at some point. I have games like Colorado, No Thanks, and much more that I would love to get to the table or bring to the table in front of you. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good one.